Welcome to It's All Fine and Dangy, where we talk about community, health, culture, and all of the big and little things that make life good. Here are your hosts, Dan and Angie.
Hello, and welcome to episode 23. Can you believe we're already up to 23, Angie?
That's right. It is 23.
It is 23. It's not 24, and it's not 25.
It is not.
It's 23. And I may or may not have started this episode several times before this take with the wrong number.
Got me cracking up already.
I know. I love it. It's a great way to start. It's a great way to start the show, cracking up.
Okay.
So what's going on?
What's going on with you?
Well, you know what's going on with us. We just got back from Lakeland yesterday.
Woohoo, what's in Lakeland?
Well, we met with a colleague of mine and I would say a friend of mine. We met with Carl. He's met him through work, but we met with Carl and Mona, and we had an awesome dinner at a place in Lakeland called Fish City. Very unassuming little place, but the meal was really good, and it was really cool to see him. I've never really hung out with Carl outside the office, so
yeah, it's nice to mingle with work people, especially
sometimes.
For me, because you know, I hear about work, but I never get to really meet anybody unless it's like at the office and I see the lady at the front desk.
Oh, yeah. But anyway, so yeah, it was very cool to hang out, and Carl's very cool, and he had suggested meeting, and I'm glad we did. It was really fun. He's a really nice guy.
It was great conversation. And
his wife was really nice, and I could have sat there for 2 more hours.
Yeah.
So.
And it was, the food was actually really great too. I do not say that very often when we do make it out to eat somewhere. And I was very pleased with my meal, and you know, it was a healthier choice. And
I forgot. What did you get? Do you remember?
I got the pecan crusted trout.
Oh, that's right.
And I love getting trout because it's always fresh. So that's it. But then we had like char grilled oysters, and they were
that's right. Those were so good with like cheese and garlic or something. Did they have cheese on them? I think they did.
They had Parmesan,
which sounds gross, but it was really good.
It was really good. And then we had just like some peel and eat shrimp, and it was just very fresh tasting, and had one cocktail, and I was good to go.
That was it. Yeah, I think the three of us split a bottle of wine, but I think what did we have? We had peel and eat shrimp as well for an appetizer.
Yep.
Carl and I had like a salmon that was encrusted with horseradish. It was really good. So
yeah, I tasted yours. That was good too.
It was really good. So anyway, that was fun. And that was worth the drive, definitely. It's about an hour drive for each of us. They're on vacation down here. And, you know, I hate to mention this so much lately, and I probably shouldn't hate to mention it because whatever. But I just wanted to mention this time that I am really starting to dig into the idea and the sort of storyline of a 3-book series for young adults. I've been wanting to do that. I started writing another book that I'm still writing. But I'm starting to actually map out the story of a long story, like a 3 series. And it's a little more challenging because with every book, if you use a normal formula, there's sort of the main character, and then you establish, you know, that what's normal for them, and then something struggle or something bad happens, and they rise up to it. They usually become empowered some way. And then you have like a wrap up at the end. That's sort of a generalized formula.
Yeah.
There's several. There's the W formula. There's the hero's journey formula. All the things that authors read about. But
interesting.
But doing that 3 times and still putting the story in a breakable spot is tricky for me. So that's what I'm starting to map out. So I'm really excited. I cannot wait to get back to just actual writing every day. But part of the process for me is putting the story together. As some of the authors said when they were on, some people just sit down and go for it.
That's not your style.
It's really not my style. So anyway, I'm mapping out the story. And I did a little bit of biking last week.
Yeah. And, you know, I did want to mention, you know, when I said what's in Lakeland, I did learn something interesting about Lakeland.
What's that?
So you said you did a little biking.
Right.
We talked about hooking the bikes up and taking them down there, but then we would have been all sweaty before we went and met with Carl and Mona for dinner.
For dinner, yeah.
But I read that Lakeland, really, they're one of the only cities in Florida that have that huge focus on biking and commuting to work and through the city.
Oh, well,
They've been
cool.
recognized for it. I should have
That's awesome.
It was just a little something I read, but I should have noted it. Maybe I can find it and you can add it to the
to like the notes of the
notes,
show notes.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
It's just an interesting little read about how they've been recognized for a city that focuses on, kind of having a clean community. Because if you're encouraging people to ride their bikes and, making pathways for them to be able to do that safely,
sure,
then, that puts less impact on the environment.
Of course.
And I just think that's a really cool thing
I do too.
For a city to do.
Yeah,
I
do
wish
too.
we saw more of that here. We see that in other countries, and I wish we had that here.
Well, maybe they're starting a trend. It would be really cool to see that
would
spread
be
more.
Great.
And while I do love that, and I think it'd be cool to share that information, I thought you were going to say they have like this series of cool bike trails that we could go down while we're there. That would be cool too.
Well, I mean, they do. They have a lot of trailing areas.
Just because of the fact that the infrastructure's there. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, we should go down. You know what? We need to stay. I think we need to just stay a night.
Yeah, we would probably have to. I mean, we're close to Tampa, so we could go see Joe, or they have bikes. They could meet us there. That'd be cool.
We could always go to Busch Gardens.
We could.
That would be fun.
Try not to get sick on the roller coasters.
I'm right there with you these days.
I try it every time, though.
Oh, I love the coasters. I do. I've traveled all over the country. Riding the tallest, fastest Cedar Point, still my favorite place. But I don't know. Something happens when you get older. I don't know if you have to take Dramamine.
It's like your equilibrium or something. It kind of gets disturbed or something like that. I don't know. But I'll try it again. But the thing is, once you try it, if you get on the first one and it throws you off, you're off for the whole day. And you do not feel
Can't
good
ride
for
anymore.
the whole day.
There's so many times I'd gone to the kids sort of towards the end of all the stuff we were doing, like with Disney. We'd ride something really fast. We'd ride it 2 times. And then I'd be like, no, I'm fine, guys. I kind of just want to enjoy nature. It's not really true. I just felt like I was going to throw up. I just don't want to ruin the day for the kids. Anyway, speaking of getting outside, I can't wait to get back on the kayak soon either. We keep talking about it. And we
talked about it today.
I know. Hopefully very soon we do that. But that's it for me. It's, most of that you were aware of.
Yeah, so we did talk about kayaking today because my oldest son, Austin, called out of the blue and said, hey, me and Taylor, his girlfriend or his fiance, want to hang out with you.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'll be there.
That was fun.
We don't get to hang out very often, so schedules just don't
quite meet up.
Don't meet up.
Yeah.
Yep. And so we went over, hung out. They have just moved into a really nice apartment complex, a nice little pool and grill area, and just grilled up some chicken and brought some sides and had a nice little conversation and played with their little cutesy dog.
I want a dog so bad now playing with that dog. I think we're going to cave soon.
And they're looking at another one because that one needs a playmate.
I know. It's the cutest little dog. What kind of dog is that?
Remember she said it's some type of Yorkie.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
So it's not those tiny little Yorkies. And I know some people that are dog lovers are probably rolling their eyes going, that's not a dog. But, I grew up with big dogs. And I love them, but for our dog, I want a dog that can be in the house. We don't have a huge house. That's not taking up too much space. And I don't know, that dog is super friendly and
we
fun.
want a lap dog, but I do want a dog that loves adventure. But I think you can train a dog to love adventure. You just got to start them when they're a puppy.
I think all dogs love adventure.
Yeah. But I also throw around rescuing an animal as well. I mean, I do like the idea of having a puppy and kind of training it the way that, we want it to be trained. Yeah. But I do have to say there's something about rescuing an animal. It's like they know that you rescued them.
Oh, you think so?
Yes, I really do believe so. Because, I watch all Kim's dogs sometimes and I'm over there and those dogs most of them have been rescued and they are the most well-behaved animals you've ever seen in your life.
Oh, wow.
I mean, they bark when somebody walks up, but that's their job.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But they go to the bathroom when they're supposed to. They go in out. You know what I mean? Some of the ones that have some issues,
they're older. Yeah.
They might have a little little mess up here or there. But
sure.
I mean, you're 90 in dog years. You're allowed to.
Yeah. I think we're all going to have accidents at that time.
But I really think there's something to be said about a dog who needs to be rescued. I feel like they just show you that love and appreciation. I mean, we watch, we follow the Asher House and he goes around promoting that and all his dogs are rescued.
No, I love that guy.
And
we got to get that guy on.
All just the most, I mean, they go everywhere with him and they listen. He don't even have leashes on him. I mean, it's amazing.
We should put a link. We'll put a link in the show notes to the Asher House. It's called the Asher House?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do that
it's
for
really
sure.
Cool.
It really is. I don't want to ruin the whole thing, but he travels around the country. and sets up these things where they take dogs out of kennels to like a dog park for the day where people can come play with them and see their personality.
Yeah, he gets to draw their personalities out. Yeah. Because a dog is never going to be the same at a shelter as they would be in an environment where they're able to be free and run and play with you and really show their personality.
Exactly.
So I
it's
think
a great
that's
idea.
really great.
We actually have looked into getting him on the show. They were going to be coming to Florida, but they didn't.
Their schedule changed. Yep, their schedule changed. But yeah, they did reach out to us. That was pretty cool. Yep.
Yeah, so maybe we'll get them on the show when they come to Florida.
It'd be awesome. We could even meet them wherever they're at. I mean, just promote where they're going to be, which would be really cool.
It really would be.
Yep. And then let's see, what else did I do? So was it Thursday or Friday? I started the grueling task of my exercise routine again.
Oh, that's right.
I've been sitting so much. I'm going stir crazy.
Yeah.
And I have about another month. I just have one more month of school left, even though I did my capstone presentation, which is posted on our page.
Yep.
At fineanddangy.com. I did it good. It's out of the way. I feel great about it.
In fact, I did want to specifically point out that it's on our page, on our video page. So, because
I feel good about it. I'm passionate about it, and I feel like that came through. And the people that came and the students that came and listened and interacted with me afterwards and were asking questions, and I loved that. So
to me, not only was it good, but it's also educational. So it's cool for people that know you and care about you to go see the video. But if you really just want to learn about I'm going to say it wrong, but it's the standard American diet and lifestyle.
Yeah, that's what I named it.
Yeah, and if you want to learn more about the standard American diet and how it's killing us, it's a really interesting. It's like a mini documentary kind of thing that she did. I highly recommend it. I feel smarter from watching it.
My goal was for people to be motivated to make some kind of change.
Yes, that was clear in the presentation.
And I got a little emotional at the end. You said you couldn't tell, but when I was writing it, I cried in one of my final paragraph because I was just so I'm emotional about it when I know that we could be making so much change by ourselves, like the change to improve things ourselves.
Indeed.
And we're all victim to it is what the video will bring out. And I got a little emotional that night too, and I had to kind of take a couple breaths and keep it together.
Well, I think your passion in that showed through for sure, but you couldn't tell that you were getting, I don't think you could tell that you were getting upset.
Yeah. Well, just a little emotional.
Yeah.
It's a little tear coming out.
Sure. You know what? It just means that you really mean it, and that everything you were going through in the presentation is not just for show.
Yeah. Yep. I mean it. That's for sure. But that's it with me, pretty much. Oh, the grueling exercise routine. That's what I would get back to.
Yeah, indeed.
So I started, my little walk jogging again because I can't do like a full jog. It just hurts my body too much. I feel like too much jogging has too much impact on all your joints and stuff. Just a personal, my personal opinion.
Well, I can't do it. I can bike, but I cannot run.
Yeah, it's too much impact on your back.
Yeah.
But I did. I just wanted to run. Normally I just do like a walk and, just get my heartbeat up really fast. But I did good. I did about 45 minutes. Like I'd walk 75% of the song and jog about 25% of a song. And because, it makes you keep going, the good music,
Oh yeah, that's how I get on the bike for sure.
Yep. And it felt good, but I'm still sore.
Still, wow.
Yeah, so I'll get back to it tomorrow. Because this weekend we've been on the go.
Right.
And I'll get back to it tomorrow. I will fit it in sometime tomorrow.
Good for you.
I might not jog. I might go to Hit Fit. I got to get back to Hit Fit.
I know. I do too.
We've been there one time.
I know.
Not a couple times, but,
Yeah.
Sorry, Nicole.
Yeah, we haven't been there much. Twice. I think we've been there twice. But
and it's a great workout. 35
really
minutes. I mean, in and out.
And that part of me thought the other day when we were going through the bills and everything, and I was like, it's such a good gym. I just cannot bring myself not to have the membership. It's just, I haven't been to a gym like that. So.
Yeah. I know, for you to say, I could do this, it's just, you've got to do the same thing I have to do. When you have an hour, you have to go.
Yeah.
Like, you just have to. Like, that's what I had to do the other morning. I knew I have an hour. I've got to go out and go for a walk, because what's going to happen at 3 o'clock when I can do it again is going to rain.
Of course.
And then I'm going to be feeling depressed that I didn't get out and move.
Well, you know what I almost just said just now? If I have an hour to spare, my go-to is to ride the bike, because I love being outside. But if I have an hour and I can't do the bike because it's raining, I need to get in the mindset to go to the gym, because that you can do in the rain.
Yeah, you do. But that's it for me.
All right.
I had a good day today.
Yeah.
And we're recording now
Right.
for our, podcast, and adding that to our list today. And then that's it.
Yeah, cool. All right, guys. Well, that wraps for this and that. And please come back after the break. Well, we have an awesome interview with a teacher continuing our month of teachers. So we'll be right back.
We all love getting the perfect greeting card from someone. What's even better is getting one that you know was handmade with love. If you are a card crafter, have you found your crafty happy place yet? Our friends at My Favorite Things carry the highest quality crafting products that are different from the rest. Their dynamics and stamps are fun, fresh, and unique. You can find all your perfect crafting supplies at mftstamps.com or visit the My Favorite Things boutique in downtown Eustis at 132 East Magnolia Avenue. If you stop in to shop and hopefully find your new crafty happy place, make sure to let them know that you heard about them from It's All Fine and Dangy. Hey everybody, welcome back. It is time for our community call out, and our guest today has worn many hats in the world of education and is now a teacher on assignment in Volusia County. More explanation to come. We would like to welcome Miss Becky Swanson to the show. Thank you so much for having us today.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited to be a part of your show.
Yay! So tell us a little bit about the role at your school that you're currently at and what grade levels that you interact with.
Sure. I am a teacher on assignment, and what that means in Volusia County is that I'm a quasi-administrator. I wear a couple hats. I am still on teacher hours and teacher pay, but I do administrative duties when I'm working. So I'm looked at as an administrator. I'm called to as an administrator. I go help children as needed as an administrator.
Wow.
But I'm technically a teacher.
Okay.
So you're wearing those hats at the same time?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's a busy day.
Yeah, it's a little crazy. And my school is very unique. I came from working in 10 years of high school. This is year 11, and I am at a it's pre-K through 8 school. So
that's a big difference.
Wow, it's like elementary and middle school mixed in.
Yeah, we have 10 grade levels, which we're the only school in the county with 10.
Wow. So what type of school is that? Is it like a charter school or is it a public school?
It's a public school. We're part of Volusia County Schools, and we serve a very niche community, and we are the only school in that city. And all of our students for high school have to go into other cities to go to high school.
Wow.
I never even
that's
heard
the
of
first
that.
time I've heard of something like that. So
Me
that
too.
is very interesting
Yeah.
and unique, just like
I didn't
you
even know
said.
that was an option for schools to do.
Yeah. In Volusia County, we have another school that's a 6th grade through 12th grade school. And that's the only one of its kind, and it's a public school. It's an old community, and Volusia County has a lot of little quirks about it.
Yeah.
And, I grew up north until I was like 12 years old, and a lot of our schools up north do that. You are, actually, I think they did kindergarten through like 6th grade or 7th grade, and then it was like 8th through 12th. Mm-hmm. So they kind of combined the grades too.
So I'm from here, and I've always just known what we referred to as, of course, elementary school, and then what we referred to as junior high school. And high school, I know now it's called middle school, but they did change one grade since I was a kid. It used to go, I think it was elementary through 6, then it was 7, 8, 9, then 10, 11, 12, and they've offset that a little. But that's interesting. I've never heard of
that's cool.
School like that. Wow, you do have a lot of responsibilities there. So I have a question. What made you want to become a teacher, get involved in education to begin with? Like, was there a specific person that influenced you that way, or...
Yeah, it's a really neat story. I was doing real estate and working on the VA contract and going around the country and inspecting foreclosure homes and getting those on the market and getting chased out of neighborhoods and doing all sorts of really crazy, dangerous things in my early 20s.
Exciting.
Oh, yikes.
It was really neat. And then the bubble burst in the real estate market. Mm-hmm. And I had a girlfriend, I'm going to give her a shout out, Jasera Armstrong, which is now Jasera Gomrad. She got married. And she said to me, she was already a teacher, and she goes, you know what? I've known you long enough. We've been roommates and everything. She goes, you would make an excellent teacher. I said, girl, my degree is not in education. It's in political science. I went to law school briefly. Like, this is not for me. And she goes, no, I think you should. And, you know, she doesn't say a whole lot. And when she does, I really take it to heart and I listen. And she just said, come meet with my principal. And that was at a charter school in Orange County 11 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I met with her principal and she's like, you know what? If you go through the paperwork, if you get your temporary certificate and all of that good stuff, she goes, I will give you a job.
Wow.
And she took a chance on me. I mean, I had never taught. I came from the corporate world and I'm like, these kids are nuts, you know?
But we've talked before about how some people are born to teach. We think most good teachers are born to teach and they may not know it, but they are. Yeah. So that she saw that in you and that's cool.
It's really neat because I had never thought of that route for myself. Right. But then I go back to where I was in college and I would give up my spring breaks and summers and I would go and do camp counseling at a special needs camp. And all those years later, I ended up working with special needs students, and that's been my niche. So I work with high school kids, but they're all high school students with disabilities. And that's
very commendable, yes.
Yeah. So, 15, 20 years ago, I didn't see that side of me, but then I ended up doing it all those years later.
Wow, that is so cool. So can you walk us through the journey that it took to get where you are in your career now? And are there other things that you're pursuing for the future now or that you want to pursue when it comes to your career in education?
Yeah, I'm curious too. Like, how did you go from that, taking a chance, getting the job from that principal to, pretty much
it seems like you moved up pretty quickly.
It really does.
And that your direction kind of changed because you're administrative now. And where are you headed from there?
Yeah, it's neat how that works because education is a fast changing, fast moving field now. It just, nothing's consistent from the one day to the next. So
that's true.
I ended up on this trajectory to become a high school teacher, which is where I stayed. And then it was an administrator in my 6th year of teaching that said, I want you to take on a leadership role on campus. You're in the classroom. That's great. You help a lot of students, but you can do more. And I asked her, what do you mean? What do you mean? And she said, I want you to go back and get your master's so that you can get into administration. And I said, at a school administrator? What? I talked it over with my grandfather. Mm-hmm. He's now passed away, but my grandfather said, yeah, if you're going to get into education and quit law school and do all this stuff, he's like, you better be the best at what you do. He's like, I don't want you to just be a teacher. I said, what do you mean just be a teacher? Are you kidding me?
That's a heck of a job.
Have you been in the classroom, buddy?
Yeah. Have you done it for 5 minutes? But he's like, no. He goes, I want you to keep going. Just don't stop anywhere in your field. Always go to the top of your field.
Oh, that's great advice, though.
And I said, no, Papa George, I don't think so. And next thing you know, it was like between him and my administrator, those were my two pushing forces.
Yeah.
Right.
I ended up going back to Stetson. I say going back to Stetson. I started at UCF, but I went to Stetson for my master's.
Right.
I got my master's in educational leadership, and they were very amazing to offer current teachers 40% discounts on tuition, which is a very
significant.
Yeah. It's a little motivator.
It's Stetson that I know.
It's a motivator.
That is a big motivator.
It made it cheaper than UCF.
Yeah.
So I ended up going there, getting my master's, and when I got out, I went through the most difficult testing of my life, which was to take a 6-hour state exam. I watched multiple people come in and leave beside me because they're taking other exams that weren't this, it's called the Florida Educational Leadership Exam, the FELE. So I took my FELE. I passed all the sections on the first try, which is about a 60% pass rate. So I was really proud.
Oh, wow.
Great.
Yeah. And I got that done. And then next thing you know, you have to go in Volusia County through this extraordinarily difficult process. They call it targeted selection. You have to put together a binder portfolio of everything you've accomplished in very specific state order. And then the next thing you do is go through a 6 or 7 hour job interview with 3 different principals and do 2 technical pieces of writing. Wow. And if you don't pass any of those, then you have to wait a year to go again. And I passed all of those.
Wow, I'm getting stressed out just listening.
No, I'm like, oh my God, that's so much.
They don't do this in other counties, I found out. They do it here. And my friends...
So you took your grandfather's advice and, really upped the ante because you chose the most difficult county to, I don't want to say difficult, but maybe that expects the highest quality.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. You talk to friends in Orange County and Seminole County and Osceola, and they just don't have the same route to become an administrator that this county does. It's a very arduous route to get there.
Sure.
It sounds like they're very selective, which I think is great. I mean, that's great for the students.
It's not a bad
in this
thing.
Community. Yeah.
So you went through all that, then you started with more of an administrative role, and things have just taken off since then?
Yeah, they basically say, okay, then you have to become a teacher on assignment before you can become an assistant principal in AP.
Gotcha.
So you can't become an AP until you've gone through this TOA role, teacher on assignment. So you apply, you go on interviews, you do all this stuff, and then the school that feels like you're right will pick you. And so I got picked by my school now. It's been an extremely interesting transition to go from high school to elementary middle.
Yeah, I would say so.
And I'm still not used to all the students and why they cry and why they do. It just doesn't happen in high school.
Yeah. It's a whole different world.
I would imagine more amounts of joy and sadness that are visible there, right?
It's emotional roller coaster during that large gap, from pre-K all the way to 8th grade.
Yeah. It's, I don't go to the gym now. I just run around campus and,
same thing, right?
I didn't know students ran, and they do. And I didn't know in elementary you had to go catch them because in high school you call their parents, and in elementary you have to go get them and then call their parents.
Oh my God, this is great stuff.
It's an adventure.
So that kind of ties into my next question about the challenges and rewards associated with different grade levels. And you kind of mentioned a little bit of it right there, but have you seen like a marked difference in terms of the rewards, of course, but in terms of the challenges? That's one of them right there, obviously having to go catch them.
Yeah. The rewards are amazing. The kids are so loving and they're so trusting at that age. And high school, they're a bunch of skeptics. They're older. They'll look at you with, eyes like, what do you want me to do? Why do you want me to learn this?
What's your motive?
Intent.
What's your ulterior motive back there? But then in elementary school, they have these wide eyes and they want to learn and they run to you and they give you big hugs and then they run from you. So it's just it's full circle.
They're probably feeling similar to the high school kids. They just act on it.
Yeah.
In more detail.
They're very impulsive. Yes, that is true.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. So let's talk about tech for a minute because obviously I'm a big
We're
tech
going to go
nerd.
down this rabbit hole.
Yes. But I guess, I've asked this question throughout our month of teaching and different results. And it's very interesting to me because on the outside, since my kids were not toddlers, but elementary school, I have been, and now one of them just graduated high school. The other one's well on her way in high school. But I have done things like, hey, I bought you a Kindle, or can let's get all your books loaded on that so you can carry one book. And then you find out, the school doesn't allow that. The school doesn't support that. So it was always these, 50 pounds of books. They'd have rolling backpacks. I always wondered why they don't have tablets in the classroom. And then I learned more about just the logic behind why they don't, the budgeting aspect of it. And so I'm just curious, have you seen in your time in education a sort of shift in the technology that's implemented or not really so much yet?
I'm fascinated by this aspect of education because technology is so love-hate for me.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, and it's a blessing and a curse. I know that our district is supposed to go a one-on-one next school year, which means one device to one student. We're supposed to have full implementation next year.
Love it.
Which is the way we need to go, in my opinion, as well. I've seen it start from, I hate cell phones in the classroom and they're such a burden, and they still are at the high school level.
Distraction,
There's such a distraction. It's very hard for a teacher to get up in front of a room and compete with the social life that sits in the palm of their hand.
Yes.
And I have a no-nonsense vibe about that, a personal sort of opinion about that. I feel like schools should do like they've done in school with your son, Angie, with my son. I see your phone in your hand. It's my phone.
I love that. And
Yeah.
unfortunately now we don't get the full parental support that we used to.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Parents will say, "Oh, don't take my child's phone.
Except
I
for
paid
an
for that,
alert.
not you."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
very
and I
hard.
think
So I
too,
imagine
it's so
it's
scary with all
slippery.
the things that go around. We don't
Yeah.
want to get too negative, but the things that happen at school campuses
Yes.
that you want to be able to get in contact with your child.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I really do think that at the very least, when you're in each classroom, it should be phones go here till the
Yeah.
end of class, and then
Yeah.
you get it back, so they can have it in between class or whatever.
Exactly.
And
I
they
was
need
never-
that fix, baby.
Yeah.
That's true. And I was never that teacher to take their phone. You know,
Right.
if they have it out on their desk and it's face down, hey, that's on you. And I do tell them, hey, if someone takes that, it's not on me. But as long as you're not interacting with it and that's your little comfort, your little
Yeah.
baby there, go for it.
I bet in a way it's training them to be adults,
It
though.
is.
Because, when you go into your job now, most jobs aren't going to look over your shoulder. So if you can't get off your phone, you're not going to keep your job.
That's it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't, I'm not used to working with this age group and
Yeah.
they don't all have the phones like the high school did. A lot of them do. And it's kind of surprising, but the high school students, I let them manage their own technology.
Yeah.
And I would always do lessons that would incorporate their technology.
Yeah.
We would do
that's awesome.
We would do gallery walks around the classroom where they're scanning different QR codes. And I was doing this 9 years ago.
Oh, I love it.
And they would have different videos, primary sources that would pop up from, the Cold War. And we'd see the Rosenbergs and we'd see all these different things. And, that would be the way they'd get their vocabulary. And,
very
I
cool.
started using Nearpod. Nearpod is a great activity.
What is that?
It's kind of an interactive PowerPoint where you can load virtual field trips into it and you can do all sorts of cool stuff. And I was doing that. Now our district pushes it like crazy. I was doing that 6 or 7 years ago.
And it's Nearpod, like NEARPOD.
POD.com.
Okay.
And, I would sign up for the one that cost money because you got extra features. And, there's Kahoot, which is super widely popular now. It's a little quiz game that you can build. But then there's GymKit, GIMKIT.com. And that's like Kahoot on steroids, as it's been described. And, there's so many things. And,
Cool.
those
Sorry,
are all
we're typing.
Yeah, you're great. Those are all classroom things that I've used. But then on the administrative side, I've really gotten into Microsoft Teams and I build teams.
Oh, now I'm very familiar with Teams. I use that every day.
Do you love it?
I do love it. Yeah. And you can tag people
Yes.
on the documents and you can work on documents at the same time. And
Yes.
now they've got video built in. So,
Yeah.
you know what I wondered about that kind of thing too? You're talking about all these different technologies on how you're sort of implementing the lesson plan or you have. Are teachers allowed to use YouTube?
We are. It's a very unique situation because YouTube is public and, you get what you get on
Right,
the
right.
public internet. So you have to preview your videos and know what's coming.
Of course.
I was in a teacher's classroom one time. This was years ago. Not at my current school. This was years ago.
Yeah.
I had
Full disclosure here.
Full
Yeah.
disclosure. I had a teacher show a video, great educational video, hadn't watched it all the way through. It was a 14-minute clip. He must have watched 5-10 minutes of it. By the end of the video, you know how there's a mosaic that pops up of other video clips at the end? There was one with boobies right in the middle.
Oh my God.
And I had a room of high school boys going, boobies. And
my
I could have died for that teacher.
Oh.
I could have died.
So, real quick little side note, similar silly story.
Those boys were so happy that day.
They never loved social studies so much.
So I put elementary school for my daughter. One of her elementary school teachers found out that I was like a tech guy. Asked if I could help them make like a school end of the year video. Would sent me all these clips and pictures. I did it. I put "The Time of Your Life" from Green Day, that song on it.
yeah.
What I forgot was at the very beginning of that song, they strum the guitar for a minute and kind of mess up and stop and then say the F-bomb and then start the song. And I didn't cut that part out. So I gave her the disc. She played it in front of the class and then messaged me and said, "We love it, but can you cut the F-bomb out of the beginning?" And I was mortified. I was like, oh my gosh. But back to the stuff in the classroom, using technology in the classroom. I guess what I also meant was, can teachers set up their own YouTube channel?
They can. They're encouraged to do various things. We're all encouraged to have Twitter accounts and have our students sign up. We are a Twitter
that's
county.
cool.
Oh, cool.
So we have different hashtags that we use, and you have to give your Twitter handle to the district so that they can monitor the content and so forth. But the teachers utilize that to get out announcements. And so we use Remind. Remind.com, or actually it's an app also, but it used to be Remind 101, but now it's just Remind, and it's interactive text messaging with students.
Oh, cool.
you got to be careful what you put out there, but we encourage our parents to sign up for that. Our principal at our school uses it to send out parent announcements, and they much prefer those to getting the, archaic phone calls.
We hate
those. And I'm not going to go into because I feel like my kids are in a really good school district where I live, and I love the high school.
Yeah.
That's one part of it that I have had to
call and get off the list.
So now if my kids skip school, I'm never going to know because I got off the list. I couldn't take the bombing of voicemails,
Yeah.
And a lot of the time you get a voicemail and it's like, hey, the football game's tomorrow night and the pep rally stuff. No offense. It's great for some kids, but I don't care about any of that.
Yeah.
Don't interrupt my day for that. Seriously.
Yeah. we burn out parents, and we know that. I mean, because, we're on the flip side going, we get parent calls saying they never know what's going on and what's going on in school. So then we send,
a bunch of them.
Oh yeah, we overdo it, and then the parents are like, "Okay,
he's off,
back off."
Yeah,
but I love the idea of like a electronic text type of reminder because then you read it when you get a chance. You don't care how many you get.
That's it,
yeah,
and it
great.
keeps you in the loop. But it's at your time, and you don't have to sit there, and it's hands free. You don't have to. It's really nice.
Well, I mentioned YouTube because I know YouTube, you can go down the YouTube rabbit hole watching silly stuff, which we all do. But YouTube is a great tool in business. We use that sometimes. And I always thought when I was a kid, if I could just punch up a search on YouTube on that thing about history, it'd be much more interesting for me to watch a video someone put together than it would to read something somewhere that's dull and old. So that was one reason I was asking about YouTube. The other reason you said the one-on-one devices you guys are heading to. What's interesting to me about that is at the rate in which books sort of expire, and now we have new information and there's a new version of the book and you'd have to buy the new one. It seems like electronically it would be so easy to just, the new one shows up and you're on the latest and greatest, whatever.
Yeah. And it seems to me like that would be cost effective for the future, especially since, we are living in a tech world. Yeah. And it's, even though we love books, we feel like those should be left for leisure and the more, that more educational books where the information is changing a lot.
Yes. Yeah.
If that's, electronic, it seems a lot cheaper for schools in the long run. And I'm sure they've played with the numbers and see that that is a good investment for them.
There's about 3 different reasons why I like the electronic textbooks better.
Yeah.
Students, maybe 4 reasons. Students are used to interacting electronically. That's how their minds are programmed. They are not programmed like we were when we were younger.
Sure. What's an index? Right.
Exactly. A glossary. What? Yeah. Secondly, it is more cost effective when you look at the research to just roll those new books and push them out electronically than it is to do the big textbooks. Third, it's more environmentally safe and effective because it's so bad when you look and see stacks of old books sitting there. It just makes me cry.
Oh, yeah.
Testing wise, our students test on electronic platforms now. They have to be used to reading words on screen. They get these big long reading passages on screen. And if their eyes are only trained to read in the black and white text on the book, it's just it gets them eye fatigue and eye strain. And I know that sounds like so soft, but it's actually a thing.
Oh, I know it is. Yeah.
And so they need to be used to reading in that format.
Yeah.
Well, those are all great points. I mean, that sells it right there. I mean, just the testing aspect. If, you're switching from one thing to the other, your eye doesn't know what to do almost.
Yeah. We want them to be comfortable in that platform.
Do you feel like social media has had a negative impact on the classroom?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. I don't think social media is for children. That is my opinion. I've not seen anything positive come from it. Not one thing.
Right. And, I've introduced my kids to electronics at a young age, and I feel like it was a good move because I stayed involved and like they had Nintendo DS's, so I bought one too, so I could stay involved.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I wish I would have reeled in a little. And now it's
too
late.
The technology or the social media?
The social media.
Yes. We haven't seen one good thing out of social media in our household neither.
We really haven't. And I guess the caveat to that is the stuff where we're sort of raising awareness or donations for some sort of fundraiser. But it's weird how quickly social media, Facebook in particular for our generation, went from really fun for the first few years, and it's pictures of families and dogs and pets and events and old friends, and everyone's loving it. We used to get comment strings where we're cracking up because it's just so funny to now just share very generic stuff where it's going to go south and people are going to argue. And it's become an argument platform. I do agree.
It's very sad. I think it's taken a toll on our students' self-esteem,
Yes.
which has in turn affected their mental health.
Of course.
I don't believe that social media is responsible enough to monitor who they let sign up.
No.
So it's got to be in the hands of the parent, and the fact that you are an involved, interactive parent with their technology and their social media makes all the difference in the world.
I would imagine we're all being manipulated, adults
Absolutely.
and kids, through social media too. It's like a big mind experiment, you know.
It's going to be interesting to see what this generation grows up.
What the outcome is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Where are they headed? What's going to happen because of this?
It's polarizing.
Yeah. So what advancements, or changes do you wish to see in the future when it comes to the education of our youth?
That technology piece. I hope that I really hope that our district does honor that 1-to-1 technology ratio, because I know other districts around us are already doing it. And I think it's only going to benefit our students. We need to meet them where they learn. We don't need to force them back into the mold where we learned.
I love that. So true.
Yeah. So
we have to evolve, right?
Yeah.
We always talk about that. We talk about how learning is when you learn something new. If you're not learning something new, you're not evolving. Yeah. But we also have to evolve based on the current generation. Yeah. You know, even if some of us are like, nah, we have to.
We got to get out of our comfort zone, and it's for our children and the future, because, you know, it's not so much about the teaching. It's about the learning. So we can teach in all the best methods that we know, but if it's not being received on the learning end, it's a waste.
Yeah.
And our kids are telling us. They tell us in their facial expressions. They tell us in their heads down. They tell us in not coming to class. They tell us
whether you're
that it's not working.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, you know what's encouraging to me is you sound a little bit like some of the other teachers that we've been. It's encouraging to me that there is an effort to make change, because I do feel like, you know, the rate of technology, I forget what the math is, but it grows exponentially. It grows faster today than it did a year ago, you know. But back when we were kids, it seemed like there was a lot of archaic stuff left over from earlier generations, and it seems to be kind of
filtering out.
Overhead projectors, what?
Yeah, and evolving faster, because and I made this joke about how part of it's just getting older and more mature, and you're interested in stuff you weren't interested in, but there wasn't an effort to make it interesting. It was, here's the lesson plan. Only those few teachers that really stand out, that we remember, that really changed our lives, went the extra mile to make it interesting. It seems like that's becoming more the norm now, which I love to hear.
It's the expectation now. And I really feel like, you asked what the future of education is and where we're headed. I really feel like it's online. I really feel like it's virtual. I really feel like it's interactive. Yeah. It's differentiated. It's one-on-one learning. It's not about, can this whole class learn at the same time, at the same pace, and get to the same finish line at the same time? Yeah. It is, can Dan learn? Can Angie learn? Can we make sure that we get it in their best learning style, and make sure that they take something away from this that they can use in their future?
And that's where the technology comes in. Because back in our day, to sound like an old man, there wasn't the opportunity. The teacher really was limited on what they could do. They had that hour with you or whatever. They didn't really have the opportunity to tailor. They couldn't give you resources to go to other than, like, you know, the card catalog system at the library or whatever. Yeah. So there wasn't really as much availability for different tailored solutions. I think
tailored solutions are the key to moving forward with education.
Yes.
And I really think technology, like you said, online courses is the way to do that, but I still think that interaction is important.
Yes.
And, you know, having a meetup once a week, or where you're bringing all those different kids that learn different ways together to learn the social aspect of the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they're so used to doing that from behind a screen. When they get in person, a lot of times they don't know how to do it. So I think that's an important part of them growing as well and becoming successful out in the world.
I'm glad you brought that up, because the big push in our county right now is SEL. It's social emotional learning.
Oh.
We are teaching, they do social emotional learning lessons every morning in elementary and middle school. And it is a big push to get these students socialized. How do we behave here? How do we interact with people there?
I love
it. The emotional piece. How do we handle our emotions if the student made me upset? You know, do you run away? Do you cry? Do you punch them? What do you do? And these are all real student reactions. Yeah. So this social emotional learning piece, we have them saying, well, right now my emotions, I'm on red, I'm angry. We have them talk it out, use their words. And,
and it probably sounds a little foo-foo, but we had very unhealthy ways of dealing with that when we were young.
We did.
You know. So. And a lot of people might argue that, you know, in my day, we didn't have such baby and the kids, but I know from going through it, maybe I was a sensitive kid, but I didn't do well with the the ways that we had to sort of handle our emotions as we were dealing with struggles like that. So
this is great. So you guys are really bringing, I'm sure you take psychology classes when you're going for education.
My degree is in political science. I had to take a bunch of other classes after that that weren't in education. So, I would think now probably teacher degrees come with some sort of
class
mental
like
health.
a class like you just explained. I mean, that's bringing in the psychological aspect of it, dealing with your emotions and aggression, and because they need that. They need that to handle things in the real world one day.
We have teachers that, they're specialized in social emotional learning, and they provide the lessons and design the lessons and give those out to the other teachers. And they go through trainings on how to implement and teach those lessons. So it's designed by specialized teachers.
Oh, that's great.
This is what they do, is SEL.
Yeah.
And, going back to what you said of, we weren't so soft and frou-frou back in the day, but we didn't have social media. We could get away from our bullies.
Point.
We could get away from our bullies. We knew if we went down that hallway, we were going to run into so-and-so, so we better go down the other hallway.
That's right.
Now, their bullies come into their home. They're in their hand.
Oh,
they're
I
in
love
the palm of their hands.
I mean, I don't love that, but I love that you see it that way, because I've said in one of the other discussions is it's like a soapbox. Everyone now, you could vent or whatever to your small little group, and that was it. Now everyone has a platform to announce to the entire school that you're a dork, or that you did this, or that this happened. And I tell my kids, you almost have to be on guard. Someone's filming you 24/7.
Yes.
So if you make a little mistake like we did and no one knew, it is broadcast.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah.
I also think it's very important to teach our children that they can't be a part of judging others because of someone else's post. I think parents fail to teach their kids that.
Don't pile on.
They're worried about their kid and how their feelings are affected. But what is your kid doing when they look at a post? Oh, so-and-so's a dork. Yep. Automatically. Yep. They're a dork.
Now I'm not going to be friends with them.
So we have to balance that out between both ends.
So let's talk about you again for a minute.
Oh, sure.
When you're not dealing with all of this and you're not educating our youth, so to speak, what do you like to do in your spare time?
Oh gosh, everything. I like to do anything that's exciting, anything that'll get my adrenaline going. We go to a lot of concerts and go see live music and support live music. And my husband is computer programmer by day, but in a band by night. So we like to go and support him. And
excellent.
We go traveling, and I pretty much like to stay on the go. Home is great. It's a lot of fun, but I like to see places that I haven't seen before. So
that sounds like me.
Weekend getaways are my favorite thing. So, as far as we can get.
Probably.
So what kind of adrenaline junkie stuff have you done?
Oh gosh. Well, I've been skydiving twice. I did 15,000 feet, and then I did 18,000 feet when they upped the limit.
You're way more adrenaline junkie than I am.
I jumped off the Stratosphere Tower in Vegas.
Wow.
Just super fun. And, I've been whitewater rafting in the Canadian Rockies. And
that's real whitewater rafting.
Oh, it's good stuff.
That's nothing like North Carolina that we've done.
We still love that.
This is big stuff.
Yeah.
And then I did zip lining in the Puerto Rican rainforest. And
oh my gosh.
That was on a new trek, and they had to throw a pack out to us because they found us coming in too fast towards the tree. So they threw a backpack out to slow us down because we're going to hit the tree. And this was there's pictures, and
we're gonna have to see those now.
Yeah, pretty much anything that I've been, I don't know, parasailing. I could keep going.
Wow,
I love
cool.
stuff. Anything.
That's exciting.
All right, I'm gonna go on vacation now.
Yeah,
right.
So I think what that does, you having an exciting personal life like that, I think that you bring that into the classroom too. Like you want kids to see the adventure in life, or you know what I mean? Yeah. So I think that brings a different element into the classroom. Yeah. Definitely. You can feel that's an energy that you carry with you, and you're bringing it in, and
I hope so.
Kids can feel that kind of stuff. They know if you're exciting and, like how you kind of are outside the classroom, they can tell that.
I remember when I was young, I would see my teacher as this 2-dimensional figure at the front of the class.
Mm-hmm.
And
Same.
They're not anything. They're just they're my teacher. That's what they do. They don't have a husband. They don't have a wife.
They're
a teacher.
Home, and then they have
and then
cats.
they still think about me. Yeah. There's an apple on their desk. That's what they are. And I want students to know that we're human beings. We relate to them. We have good days. We have bad days. That it's okay what they're feeling. And that, if they go on and get their education, however that format is, whether it's trade school, whether it's college, it doesn't matter to me. Just don't stop learning and don't stop exploring. That's my end game for them.
I think that's great. I do have a question about when you were a high school teacher. When we talk about you have good days and you have bad days, did you have an open communication with your students when it came to if they were having a bad day? Did they feel like they could come talk to you, kind of set their day in your classroom as far as I'm having a really crappy day, kind of talking to you? Were they open with you about that kind of stuff?
Some students were not, and it was just their personalities, but they also don't hide their emotions very well.
Yeah.
So I stood at my door every day to greet every student coming in every period, and that was my gauge, my thermometer, if you will, for the day to know what their mood was without them having to vocalize it, because that can be hard.
Yes.
If a student walked in, I knew their demeanor on a good day, I knew it on a bad day, and I knew where they were the moment they entered my room. So I knew which students I could, kind of josh around with for the day, or which students just weren't in the mood, or which students I could call on and they would be ready to give an answer, and which students I'm like, you know what, let's let them just make it through the period today.
Wow, that's pretty perceptive.
Yeah, because I think I remember when I was a student, if you walked in a wonky mood, you were getting called on the whole time.
That's how it used to be.
It did, buddy.
Yeah.
They were just ready
But
to
it was
get
a waste
you.
of time.
Yeah.
It wasted everyone's time
It
because
did.
they never responded well. And then
Yeah.
everyone else in the
Yeah.
class is distracted by the drama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't want a student to resent you, because that doesn't create an environment for learning.
Yes.
I want them to know I've got their back. And then I rarely, even at I'm 5 feet tall, I very rarely had classroom discipline issues in a giant room of high school, big, smelly, lovely teenagers.
Because you probably you show a certain amount of respect, I think,
do.
and that earns respect back.
They say they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Oh, that's a good call.
That's the teacher saying, and I've lived by that.
Oh, that's great.
So we are all about community with It's All Fine and Dangy. And we wanted to know if there are any organizations or charities that you share your time or your resources with that you would like to talk about.
With school being as crazy as it is, I don't get out there as much as I would like to, but there is one organization that is in our local community. It's in Sanford, Florida, and we have a friend that works very closely with this organization. So we've donated money to them multiple times, but then we donated our time one Sunday to go and help serve and prepare the meal and clean up from the meal. And it's called the Picnic Project.
Oh, cool.
And the Picnic Project is a no questions asked place to come and get a hot, well-prepared meal. It's not, hey, we threw some frozen lasagnas in there. It is a gourmet prepared meal with love, no questions asked. Bring your family, and the volunteers eat right alongside the participants.
Oh, I love that.
And
That
it
reminds
is
me of
so
another
cool.
organization that we work with sometimes.
Yes.
It
That's
is
amazing.
so cool. And then there's also a clothing clothing closet opened during that time for the meal, so people can come and then they can pick up some non-perishables and take those with them. And it's a
that is
community.
great.
And
Yes,
you get
we
to
love
see your
that kind of
regulars.
stuff. Mhm.
Yeah. And it's a fantastic organization. And our friend Greg Runge gives so much time and energy to that organization. And so, he motivates you to want to be a part of it.
Of course.
So we've donated money multiple times, but then, just getting out there to see where our money was going was really impactful.
Yeah, that does something to you. When you
Yeah.
see that, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, these people aren't like advertising left and right.
No.
Because they're probably not.
No.
And they're just,
It's
word
about
of mouth.
helping, not about getting
Yeah.
credit for helping.
That's it.
So
Yeah. But
well,
we
so-
like to get the word out because
Yes.
we feel like these people, because their time is focused on helping others instead of telling everybody what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
like to tell everybody what they're doing.
Yeah.
So we definitely will put them on the website so
Very
that hopefully
cool.
they can get more volunteers, more funding. That keeps them going
Very
and doing
cool.
what they're happy
Indeed.
about.
Well, Becky, thank you for taking the time to sit down and talk to us. It was very educational. I know I always say that. Get it? Pardon the pun.
I
Hashtag
love
month of
puns.
teachers.
But it really was. And I'm encouraged to hear some of the things, especially around the technology. And I'm excited for you. It sounds like your career is taking off.
Thanks. I appreciate it. And, it's
Moving on up.
my end goal is just to work with kids and
Yep.
make sure that they learn and make sure that they are happy, adjusted, well-adjusted adults as much as possible, as much as we can be, as much as
Right.
we are.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's great.
Just to go on and do good things.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, hang tight, guys, and we'll be right back. Hey, and welcome back to the show. I hope you enjoyed the community call out. And now it's time for what we would call the information station, where we go through and kind of dig into some of the stuff that our guests talked about and talk about some stuff that we learned by doing some research after the interview.
Yeah, and Becky had some interesting things that they use where she's at.
Well, I agree. I was really impressed by that, too.
I'm sure most teachers use these platforms and stuff like that, but some of the apps were really cool that she brought up.
I think so, too. Yeah, I agree. And the idea that they are moving towards this one device per student thing, that's what I've been talking about forever. So I love that.
Yeah.
So again, Becky or Rebecca, thank you again for doing the interview with us. I wanted to look into the social emotional learning that she mentioned.
Yeah, that was interesting.
It is. So the SEL, the S-E-L, that is the process of developing the self-awareness, self-control, and interpersonal skills that are vital for schoolwork and life success. And it made me think, this is awesome that they're doing this with kids, because plenty of us in life, myself included, I don't feel like I had a good handle on this even well after graduating high school. I feel like I do now as an adult, but it took way into my adult years. So, people with strong social emotional skills are better able to cope with things like just everyday challenges, academically, of course, but professionally as well, and socially.
Which is very important.
It's hugely important.
Mm-hmm.
But it's things like impulse control and what they call emotional management or emotion management.
Mm-hmm.
You can solve problems better if you can kind of, take yourself out of the full emotional breadth of a situation to be able to analyze a situation without getting too emotionally caught up in it and making the wrong decision. It also helps you to maintain healthy relationships in life and to solve problems in peaceful ways. So, the list goes on.
Yeah, I'm sure. There's so many things that it could help with, I'm sure.
It really does. And so it just made me think it's so cool to hear that they're keeping that in mind and then sort of applying the type of teaching that they're doing around that to teach kids to be able to not just go with every impulse. As a teenager in high school, that's when you've got probably the worst judgment on anything. And they're basically teaching them to use your brain and not your emotions or whatever to make decisions. And it helps them in school, but it also helps. And it just made me think this kind of thing would be good for most of the 20-somethings I know.
I mean, really, this could be good for anybody.
I agree. But I think, and maybe I don't want to sound like
starting at a young age means that when they do get in them in the 20s and the 30s, and as they continue as an adult, they've already got those skills.
Exactly.
So how amazing.
I know. And I didn't want to sound like, I've got it all together and I don't need that anymore. But I guess I just meant I can think back at times in my life where having some kind of training or being taught better how not to just go with the emotions and make bad decisions based on that kind of stuff. I just found it interesting. Another thing it mentioned is that kids that get a handle on this social emotional learning aspect early are more likely to have more friends. And more friends equals doing better in school, generally speaking. And it also means that you're less likely to be bullied. So that
is a true statement.
Oh, I know.
I know it is.
And the long and the short of it is it creates like a foundation for a positive long-term effect on kids and adults and communities in general. If you think about it, if everyone has a handle on their, we all knew people that kind of did, and we all know people now that do. And I think those are the people that we most look up to because they seem like they have it together. And I think it's mostly because they are thinking things through.
Yeah.
Instead of. I
can think of examples of people in high school that were friendly with everybody and they excelled and they were into this and that. They were just pleasant. You know what I mean?
Well, that goes back to that whole thing, too. It helps to solve problems in a peaceful way. And I think we could really use that today now more than ever.
Could.
Because, boy, social media is not famous for solving problems.
No, it just stirs them up.
In a peaceful way. And it just, that's why everybody communicates these days.
And I love that this is a practical skill. It's like how I think they should teach like finances in school.
Oh, sure.
Something practical.
That everyone can use.
everybody needs it.
Of course.
Yeah, so pretty cool.
So that Nearpod thing that Becky mentioned as well, that's actually an app that utilizes this the CEL, as they call it, or the social emotional learning. But this app allows teachers to manage their lesson plans. They can do things like creating interactive activities for students, like 3D objects or polls you can take part in, or drawings, or etc. But I like it because it's techie, but it's also sort of a digital way, which appeals to kids these days, to kind of teach this CEL platform. So anyway, that's what I looked up from the interview, and I was really interested in what I found. So hopefully, everyone finds that kind of interesting. And if you're interested in finding out more about CEL, I will put a link in the show notes. So if you're listening now, you can just scroll down and you should see the link for CEL.
Yeah. I thought that was really interesting, Becky's, her viewpoint on technology.
Me too.
And how important it is for us to be advancing as adults and embracing it even, as fast as the kids are.
Yes.
And how she just mentions it's important.
Oh, it's
very
definitely important. And sometimes I know I live in a bubble because I sort of always had the impression that because of our generation, we are much more tech savvy. Mm-hmm. First of all, that's not true. I just happen to be in the industry.
Yes.
And so, some of the people, we talked to Michelle last week, and, she talked about how some of the adults are coming into college to learn how to be tech savvy. Yeah. So there's that aspect. But I always thought the next generation, my kids' age, they are going to be super tech savvy because they're on gadgets all the time. But if I've learned this from my own kids, they're not at all. They don't know how to fix a computer. They don't know how to get
They know how to manage social media.
Right.
That's what they know how to do. They know how to do the Snapchat. They know how to...
Exactly.
That's what they know how to do.
And I got a false impression all these years because they had a computer since they were young. And not that everyone should be able to fix a computer, but they don't know how to go in and find a file in a directory or the basic things of a computer. So it's been an eye-opener for me between that experience with the kids, which wasn't that long ago, that I was like, wow, you guys just are not techie. And then the conversations with Michelle, and now the conversations with Becky. So it's super encouraging to me to hear that they're utilizing technology to teach because it is driving people to learn how to use technology.
Yeah. And one of the, a little bit of the research I did, there was a website which we'll put in the show notes, and it brought out like 10 great points about why technology is important in education. And I'm sure Becky brought most of the points out, but one of them was that technology keeps kids engaged because that's what they're considered technological learners now. And they need that constant stimulation. Remember we talked about that, or that instant gratification.
Right.
So why not just go with it? Why not go with that? And we got to change up what our approach is as adults to get the kids to learn. If that's what we got to do, that's what we got to do.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was another point that this brought out is that, it's times are changing. It's time to change. We talk about it. Evolution all the time.
Yeah,
it's time to evolve the way we teach in the world.
I totally agree. Can you imagine if we had such involved, interactive, captivating learning when we were in high school? To me,
oh yeah,
not to sound like an old man, but I feel like the kids have no excuse for not getting on the work because look how interactive and almost fun they make everything. We were watching old movies on a slide projector and flipping through a book, and it just seems a lot more.
I still think it has a long way to go.
Yeah.
I'm of that whole idea that I do believe that there should be some type of system in place where each child is given like an entrance test when they come into school, because every year you change and you learn different maybe every year, even up till a certain age, right?
Right.
So every year there's different types of classes you should be in. Maybe you heard that kid that can sit still and likes to read all day. Then you should be in the class with all those kids.
That's a great point.
All this, the same type of learners should be in a class together. And then I believe that they got to learn that social aspect, right? And how to deal with other personalities. So there should be interactive classes where they come together and they're like a social class, like a social emotional learning class.
Wow.
Where you learn how to talk with other students that are different than you and how to problem solve together with different learners.
Yeah.
because you're never going to get all the same learners that work on a team together. So how are we taking a hands-on kid with a more analytical, you know what I mean, and an artsy kid, and how are we combining those together to solve a problem?
Yeah,
so I have a totally different outlook.
I love
on
that.
What I think it should be like.
It teaches them social skills at the same time as team building skills.
And that another thing that website brought out was that technology is necessary now to succeed outside of primary and secondary education.
Yeah,
it is a necessity. So
every job
they've got to be incorporating it.
Yeah.
So I thought those were some interesting points. It brought out a bunch of other great points that I was like, little aha, like, oh yeah, that's interesting.
Awesome. But, so we'll put the link in the show notes for that one as well.
Yeah, it's a good little read, especially for parents.
Yeah. So one quick thing, we were talking about team building, is what you kind of reminded me of when you're talking about this sort of potential social class, if they made such a thing. Mm-hmm. But she also mentioned a product or an application called Teams. And I wanted to touch on that briefly because anyone that has Microsoft Office or pays for Microsoft Office from Microsoft, it comes with an application called Teams. You can go out to your Microsoft site, log in, and download it. It is a very cool application if you're working with Teams, pardon the pun, but it basically you can take and store documents and notes and files and images, but you can comment on any of these things, and you can tag someone in the comments underneath a document. You can also work on the same document together the same way you and I do with the show notes, Angie, where in Teams, I can go in and edit a document. And if you try to edit it, it'll tell me it's checked out, or it'll tell you it's checked out by me.
Yeah.
But you can be flagged for when it's checked back in to be notified. Excuse me. And you can do things like instant messaging through Teams. You can do calls, kind of like Skype. In fact, Microsoft is putting Skype into Teams soon. But even now, you can do video calls and audio calls through the Teams application. It's a really cool way to organize your data and your files around specific projects that you may be working on together and specific teams that are working on those projects. So if you have multiple teams, you can have multiple projects with different teams in each project and invite them to each different project. So super easy to use. And what it kind of does is it replaces the traditional computer network where you go to a folder where everyone has stuff. And it's more of a modernized version of accessing group files together.
Yeah, I've worked on, and I'm telling you, it's not just like in techie places that have that. This is a staple that most businesses are using. So that's why it's important for them to be learning this in middle school and high school.
It really is. And if any of you out there have heard of the application called Slack, which is the more common one, Microsoft Teams is Microsoft's answer to Slack. It's essentially the same thing, just a different company. Yeah, I've used
Slack before at FitLife when I worked there.
Yep, and it's very common. So anyway, talking about teaching the kids, teaching them these types of applications, these Teams type applications where they're managing projects and files together, I think it's awesome because I use Teams every single day in my work. Yeah. So it's teaching them to use the tools that they're going to have for most jobs. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Another, I didn't know what this one she described it a little bit. It was called Gym Kit. It was an app.
Yep.
And I spelled it like gym, like you're going to gym. And I'm thinking it has something to do with
physical education.
Physical education.
Right.
And I cannot find it. Well, it's actually GIMKIT, right? So it's an app. And what I thought was really cool about it is that it's actually made by a high school student, and it's managed by a high school student because he wanted a interactive type study guide that was things he was really learning.
That he had to learn anyway,
and that
probably.
He had to learn, and that was interesting to him.
Yeah.
So he created like this Q&A game that you can, log into on your device. And it's almost like a game show for the classroom. And it can be worked on individually so that you can study, certain topics, science or math or whatever.
Right.
And then, or you can do it as a group. So like they can actually play this in the classroom.
Wow.
So it's pretty cool. And you tally up like dollars, like,
digital
game
dollars,
digital dollars for every answer you get right, but you also lose them. And there's things where you can, wager or whatever against each other as far as like working as a group.
What do you do with the dollars? The digital?
Cash them in for things like on the app, like level up or whatever. I don't know. I need to go a little more deep into that. I just saw the digital dollars.
Yeah.
But So students have to, when they work together, they got to kind of use their knowledge of what they've learned and collaborate together and use different strategy skills to try to answer the questions that are in the game.
Sounds fun, actually.
It can be used at home at home for like homework assignments or to study for tests. I thought that was really cool. And something else that was really interesting was the fact that teachers can actually get data back on what their kids in their classroom need to learn or what they're struggling on, either individually or as a group.
So the teacher can go back through their sort of game results. That is really cool.
I mean, and it's right there. Like they have a lot of information that's provided. So
that's called
amazing.
Gamification. That's a thing that's happening across the industry right now. And even like social networks inside of offices, in order to get you to interact more with the other people in your office, they gamify it where it's like a contest and it's like points. And so hearing that they're doing gamification of learning in school is awesome.
Yeah, because we're naturally competitive. Humans are. So
sure, and it's way more fun.
Better way.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's way more fun to play a game.
When lights go off and stuff, when you get something right, like I'm a winner.
Well, you know what that reminds me of? If you think about how much most of us love Jeopardy, if you took the questions out of Jeopardy and put them in a book, it would be so boring.
Yeah. I mean, even think of games like I like to play on video, like the one video game I like to play. What is it?
The one video. Hold on. I got this. Crash Bandicoot.
Yes. And the thing I like doing the most is like, I got to get all the coin things.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like to miss them. So even there, it's like you're almost in a competition with yourself that you have to collect these coins that get you nothing.
It's off-topic a bit, but I think you are in a competition by yourself, and I could never show the videos that I took of you playing that on our show because we are a rated PG show, and it's not a rated PG clip. Yeah, you say a lot of bad words when you play video games.
Just that one, because it's the only one I really play.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah. What's funny is when Jacob and my son and I are playing game, we haven't in years, but we're yelling and screaming and she's like, you guys are getting too whatever. And then you go play Crash and I have to record you because it's exactly the same.
So anyway, that was a great interview with Becky. That was a great way to end our month.
Yeah, indeed. That was a fun month.
Yeah. And how she described her job duties. She's a teacher on assignment, so she's in training to become an assistant principal.
Yep.
And I think her ultimate goal is to become a principal one day. I think she'd be a great principal.
I do too. Yeah. I really do.
Yep.
I think she will. I think that's what she'll end up doing.
You got to go through the process, though.
You got to go through the process. That's true. So next month, our theme is still a surprise.
It is a surprise. Yes, it is.
So just tune into the next episode to find out what it is. We'll also post on social media between now and then what next month's theme is.
I'm excited for October, though.
I am too. That is going to be super busy. I
know what else we did. We started the Halloween hunt.
We did start the Halloween hunt. We found absolutely nothing but we started the hunt.
That's how it always goes, though. The first few stops, it's like nothing. And then it starts working out.
I know. It will work out.
It's a mad scramble at the end.
It will work out.
It's always fun, though.
Well, we hit, 2 or 3 different stores?
Yeah, we did, but found nothing.
Well.
But guys, we are going to wrap up for this episode. Thank you so much for listening to episode 24. 23.
Okay, there's a jab.
Episode
I should have
23.
saved that. I should have saved that for the outtakes, but I did not. I know.
You sure should have.
Well, anyway, as always, we want you guys to give us a call at 407-490-3899. That's the show voicemail. That is not live on the air. We've had a couple people mistake that. But call, leave us a message if there's something you want to talk about, a thought, an issue, a question, a topic, a suggestion, or just to say hi. And you can always email us at feedback@fineanddangie.com. That's DANJEE, because that's how Angie spells her name, and that's how she's legally going to spell her name soon.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, and I do want to talk about our hashtags. So we have our hashtag #TurnAPopkaGold. Remember that September 1st starts Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and we have the Golden Warrior Festival coming up September 7th. I did want to mention on September 4th that Apopka is going to be doing a proclamation about childhood cancer awareness and turning Apopka gold.
Oh, nice.
So I will be there on September the 4th with Elena. I think you have to work.
I do have to work,
during the day.
but I thank you for going to represent for us.
Yes, we will go represent.
And you bring up a good point. We only have one more episode between now and the Golden Warrior Festival. So we are going to be pushing to get as many people as we can involved in that, and hopefully coming out to see us, to eat at Beef O'Brady's, and to donate at all if you can.
Yep. I'll be out this week putting up flyers that Veronica made for us. I got to go pick those up and put them out. I didn't want to put them out too soon because I feel like people forget about it, or people might take the flyers down.
Right.
You know, they'll only let you hang stuff up for a certain amount of time. So.
Right.
So anyway, hashtag turn a Popka gold. Show us how you're turning a Popka gold, and make sure you use that hashtag. Help more people. Hashtag help more people. Anytime that you're making a difference in the community. And then this month's hashtag. That is a tongue twister. Hashtag month of teachers.
That's right.
And stay tuned for next month's hashtag.
Which is a surprise at this point. And I think that's going to wrap the show for now, guys. So thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you on social media between now and next week. And we will talk to you on the show next week. And always remember, at the end of the day,
it's all fine and dandy.
I did that either.
You're so confident too. You're a quarter of the way to 100.
I had whole spiel ready. It was great. And then I cleared it and said it with such confidence the second time, and you were laughing the second time, and I was like, why is she laughing this time? Oh boy, you're bullying.
So, you know, we are all about community with It's All Fine and Dandy. So we wanted to find out if there's any organization. That's whatever. I can't talk.